Welcome, everybody, to February 21st Travelogue for the Green Valley Rec Camera Club. We've got a foreign visitor today. Well, actually just visiting a foreign country. Kathryn Engle is going to be first up because she's Zooming from Mexico. So if you'll all just mute, I'm going to mute myself as well. Stop your video. And I'll share my screen and you'll be able to see Kathryn's presentation.
Fabuloso.
Kathryn, are you still with us?
I am, thank you.
That was great. Thank you very much. What a great variety of shots, gorgeous shots to show us what goes on Dia de los Muertos. Would you like to say anything about your production before you fade away?
No, I'm sort of just still learning how to put all this stuff together, and sometimes I think maybe the theme got a little off track a little bit, but it was kind of fun putting it together, and I think I can do that on the trip I'm on now, matter of fact.
So, in Mexico right now?
Yeah, I'm doing a 2-month RV trip in Mexico.
Oh, excellent. We look forward to seeing that when you're done, but this was great. Does anyone have questions or comments for Kathryn?
I had a question. What is the significance of the marigolds?
Okay, well, according to online, it says that they're called the flowers of the dead. Cempasúchil is what they call it here. And I think it's supposed to attract the souls to the altar. So, yeah, and I guess it's also kind of a cheery color to celebrate life rather than being bitter about death.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you, Kathryn. Next up, we have Larry Springford. And Larry's show will be starting in just a moment. Remember to stop your video and audio if you're not Larry. But Larry, while your audio's on, is there anything you'd like to say ahead of us watching this?
Sorry, it took me a minute to find the space bar. Yes, although I made this when we were locked up on COVID, in fact, it's a trip we made back in '95. So it's a lot of old stuff. It's all stills from my side of it and some other stuff that I pulled off the internet. So I'll let you play it if you got it there. Holly?
Okay, will do.
The North. Northwest Territories, Yukon, and Alaska. In 1995, our younger daughter Kathy and her husband Mike had recently moved to northern Alberta, very northern. So we decided to visit, and then to explore the North. It was 3,000 kilometers from Kincardine to Glacier National Park in Montana. Glacier National Park provided some great views of the Rockies, Wild Goose Island, Lake McDonald, and the Sunrift Gorge. From there, we went across the border that is marked by a cleared strip of land at the 49th parallel to Waterton Lakes National Park in Alberta, a place that had been on our to-do list for a while. It's easy to see why we wanted to visit this beautiful location, as well as Upper Waterton Lake, where the Prince of Wales Hotel is impressively situated. There is Summit Lake and Cameron Lake, with its wildlife and its falls and beautiful Red Rock Canyon. When we lived in Calgary, Edmonton seemed like the end of the world. Now our daughter lived 9 hours, 860 kilometers north of Edmonton. They lived in Fort Vermilion on the bank of the Peace River, a major river that flows northeast. Later, on our way to the Yukon, we stopped at another historic Peace River settlement, Dunvegan, 400 kilometers south of Fort Vermilion. We went with Kathy and Mike to Yellowknife in the Northwest Territories, 800 kilometers further north. It is on the shore of Great Slave Lake, the deepest in North America. The real north starts at 60 degrees north latitude. With different flora and fauna. We passed Hay River and camped at Lady Evelyn Falls, where I tried unsuccessfully to catch fish. We crossed Canada's longest river, the Mackenzie River, by ferry. It empties into the Arctic Ocean. Yellowknife is the capital and the only city in the Northwest Territories. Established in the 1930s as a base for prospectors looking for gold, this bush plane memorial recognizes those who traveled into the interior by bush plane. The city developed in the 40s and 50s, and in more recent years has continued to develop. In 1991, diamonds were discovered, and prospecting changed. We camped outside of town on Prelude Lake, but we came into the city for supper at the long-established Wildcat Cafe. Being so far north, the aurora borealis can frequently be seen. We returned to Fort Vermilion with Kathy and Mike, and then continued south to start the Alaska Highway at Mile Zero in Dawson Creek, BC. These images give an idea of how the highway developed from construction to present day. The trip up the highway wasn't as interesting as I'd hoped it would be, but we did see some wildlife. We drove through Fort St. John and Fort Nelson, Alaska Highway Army Workshop locations where some of my REME officer peers had been posted when I had been posted way down south at one field workshop in Calgary. Although my memory is incomplete, I think we camped at Muncho Lake. The next day we passed Smith River Falls, stopped to see the Forest of Signs at Watson Lake, and camped at Tarfu Lake. Nearby are other lakes we visited, like Snafu Lake. Tarfu is a military term meaning things are really fouled up. We went to Carcross to see the Northwest Mounted Police Detachment building with its sod roof. Unfortunately, the most significant event of the trip occurred here, when the transmission on the RV failed and we had to be towed into Whitehorse. We donned our costumes as Soapy Smith and a Northwest Mounted Police constable to fit into the area. The town was filled with interesting buildings and sights. Notable to us was this Anglican bishop who came from our town of Kincardine. We were now 1,400 kilometers along the Alaska Highway. Built during the post-war boom in Whitehorse for much-needed residential accommodation is this log cabin skyscraper. That was a definite step up from this logger's cabin on the Yukon River that flows through Whitehorse. One of our more pleasant events was to take a float trip on the river with Willie, an interesting local native. Travel to and from Whitehorse had been on the Yukon River, using the SS Klondike that we toured. We spent 7 days in Whitehorse, waiting for the transmission to be replaced, so we had more time than we needed to see the town and the area. Another landmark was the cabin of Sam McGee, made famous in Robert Service's poem, The Cremation of Sam McGee. The poem speaks of him being cremated on frozen Lake LaBerge, so we rented a car so we could see this lake, and also some other lakes and rivers in the area. I tried once again, unsuccessfully, to catch a fish. We had lots of time to kill in Whitehorse, so after we covered everything, including the botanical garden, we also spent a couple of days reading in the library. We headed up the Alaska Highway once more towards Dawson City. One of our stops along the way was the Five Finger Rapids. Robert Service was inspired by the view of these rapids to write the poem The Call of the Wild, which begins, "Have you gazed on naked grandeur where there's nothing else to gaze on?" 500 kilometers further north, our next major stop was Dawson City, the second largest town in the Yukon Territory. Some things haven't changed from the gold rush days. The streets are still dirt with board sidewalks. This historical residence was for the chief government executive of the Yukon. Robert Service, a bank clerk, moved from Whitehorse to Dawson City in 1908. His poems were based on gold rush stories. Although not appreciated by literary critics at the time, they became very popular. The cabin he lived in is still an historic site. When we were there, this man, Tom Byrne, recited poems by Service. As well as the poem The Spell of the Yukon here on the side of a building, one of my favorite poems is Dangerous Dan McGrew.
A bunch of the boys were whooping it up at the Malamute Cafe, and back of the bar in a poker game sat a man that everyone knew. He was grim and cold, he was bad and bold, he was Dangerous Dan McGrew. And while Dangerous Dan was a-playing his hand and keeping his mind on his game, you could see standing by with a gleam in her eye and her hair just as red as a flame, a gal who was tall with a face like a doll and her fingernails painted blue. Oh, a gal who was tall with a face like a doll, the lady that's known as Lou. Out of the night, which was 50 below, and into the din and the glare, a man staggered in who was haggard and thin, and his face was filled with despair. Now he looked all around until he had found the lady that's known as Lou. And then the stranger turned and his eyes they burned on Dangerous Dan McGrew. And then suddenly, wham, all the lights went out and a voice cried, "Die you must!" And then a woman screamed and a shot rang out and somebody bit the dust. And then the lights flashed on and the Northwest Mounted Police came a-crashing through. They drew their guns and they said, "Which one is Dangerous Dan McGrew?" And then somebody said, "Woo-woo, they're so big," and skipped across the floor. A 1-2 skip, hand on hip, right out through the open door. Now was it the stranger a-taking his leave, or the lady that's known as Lou? It was nobody else in this whole wide world but Dangerous Dan McGrew.
I considered another one of the highlights of Dawson City to be Diamond Tooth Gertie's. With music hall dancers and gambling, perennial favorites. It was another 500 kilometers west to Fairbanks, Alaska. We took the ferry across the Yukon River on the top of the World Highway, as this portion of the Alaska Highway is known. It gets that name because it's one of the northernmost highways in North America, and it follows ridge lines, providing great views. Passing through Chicken, Alaska. This statue in Fairbanks recognizes the unknown first indigenous family to settle here. In the museum, we saw these mastodon tusks. While we were there was demonstration of indigenous contests, games, and dances. There wasn't much more to see in Fairbanks, so we headed to Anchorage, 400 kilometers south. Because of our delay in Whitehorse, we didn't stop at Denali National Park, other than to take some pictures from the highway, where we had views of Mount McKinley. Other images from the internet indicate that we missed some great scenery. We continued on down to Anchorage, where we didn't stay long, but I remember being amazed at the busy seaplane airport in the middle of the city. Autumn was approaching quickly, although it was still August, so we didn't dawdle in Anchorage. Leaving Anchorage, we drove up the Matanuska Valley, seeing the glacier of the same name. It was 1,200 kilometers to Haines, Alaska, where we had a ferry reservation. Looking at the map, I was surprised to find we had to go back into the Yukon and then passed within 130 kilometers of Whitehorse on this leg of our trip. On the way, we saw this interesting church, the first one built northwest of Whitehorse on the Alaska Highway. We camped at Kluane National Park. And hiked up the Sheep Mountain Trail, which you can see took a bit of effort. But we made it, and it was worthwhile. Some other images from the internet give some additional views. The internet also provided these images of the Dall sheep, for which this mountain is named. At Haines, these former officers' quarters dated from the period when the U.S. Army base was located here during the negotiations on the international boundary between the U.S. and Canada. This fish wheel is a local method of catching fish. Although our camper was on board, we had booked a cabin for the overnight ferry trip. Traveling down the inside passage was pleasant, with great views, when there was no fog. I think we were 2 nights on the ferry. There were stops at Juneau, Petersburg, and Wrangell in Alaska before we reached Prince Rupert, BC. It's fortunate we took this trip when we did. This ferry no longer operates because the RCMP no longer provides immigration control at Prince Rupert. We visited the North Pacific Cannery at Prince Rupert. It operated from 1888 to 1985. These were the houses of the Japanese fishermen who had worked there. By the time we arrived at Vancouver Island on the BC ferry from Prince Rupert, we had put over 10,000 kilometers on our RV, then to the mainland, and it was another 4,000 kilometers home, after a trip that provided many memories.
Great,
Yeah,
great show, Larry.
That's Larry.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Unbelievable. You must have had a
Great
ton of
show.
fun keeping it as well as taking gorgeous photographs. What a trip. Are you there with us, Larry?
Yeah, yeah, yep.
Good. So,
How long of
tell
a
us
trip
about
was
your
it?
insert a little with Doug and Phil.
My recollection, it's a while back. Think back 25 years, a little more. I think it was probably 2, maybe 3 weeks.
Wow. Wow, that's a
Yeah.
lot of driving in 3 weeks.
Yeah, it was, some of it was just straight through, but yeah, it was good. Our only time north of 60.
If you have a comment, remember to unmute yourself and start your video. Jean, are you there? Huh? Okay. Anybody else have questions for Larry? Where were your shots of Doug and Phil taken?
Oh, that was in Tombstone. That was back at 2000, March 2020, February 2020. Yep.
Ah, got it done before COVID hit.
You can tell we were
Thank
having
you.
fun.
Yeah, yeah, right. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Anybody else have a question, comment? Okay, Larry, you.
Good job,
do you have
Phil.
anything-
Larry.
Oh, Bob, sorry.
Yeah,
Bob.
very good job, Larry. Very good.
Beautiful.
Thanks, folks. Thanks.
Going on to our next show, and that would be Sarah Warren's. And let me just pull that up for you. Oh, no, that's It's not that one either. Sarah, are you there?
I am.
Would you like to say anything before the show starts?
Well, we went to Silver City, New Mexico in early January of this year. We went there because we had received word from a high school classmate that his mother had passed away and her service was going to be in Santa Clara, which is right near Silver City. So we thought, well, we've never been to Silver City, and this would be a good excuse to go at this particular time and see some of our class members that were there. So that's how we got the idea of going. And I will just add one aside, and that you will hear reference made to Dangerous Dan in my show as well. I don't have a picture of or a moving picture of him, but he is mentioned, Larry. That's
So
about
maybe we should get Doug to pop in and see you and you can take his picture.
So this is just a little short ditty about our weekend in Silver City.
Okay, well, thank you. Again, I'll mute and stop my video and you do the same.
So Holly, we aren't seeing any video.
Phil, did you say you cannot see the video? Phil Rock.
No video or music.
No video, no nothing.
Oh
Did
dear.
you share your screen?
I did, and it was going great, but I will try it again.
Carl and I recently spent a weekend in Silver City, New Mexico. It was a 3.5-hour drive from Green Valley.
No video.
Some of the earliest recorded people who lived in the Silver City area were
Holly,
the
there's no
Mimbres
video.
Indians from 200 to 1100 AD. Their beautiful pottery has been
Okay, I hear you and I'll try it again. Sorry about that, Sarah. Keep telling me if it's not coming through right, please.
Okay.
You may need to stop sharing and go back and start again.
Yeah, I did. Okay. We'll try that. Oh, but where to go now? It's this one, I believe. Yeah. This one. Okay, we'll try it again. Oh, sorry.
Unearthed over the years. While some of
Yeah, Holly, turn the volume back up.
How we doing?
We're doing good here.
Yeah, we're doing now.
Looks better now.
Some of the earliest recorded people who lived in the Silver City area were the Mimbres Indians from 200 to 1100 AD. Their beautiful pottery has been unearthed over the years. While some of this pottery is housed at the Smithsonian, a goodly amount of it is on display in the museum at Western New Mexico University in Silver City. Apache Indians occupied this area from the early 1600s until the late 1800s. With the discovery of copper, gold, and silver in the 1860s, prospectors arrived in the area, and many bloody battles were fought over the rights to the land. At about that same time, outlaws like Billy the Kid and Butch Cassidy and his wild bunch frequented the Silver City saloons. These murderers and thieves were brought to justice by gunslinging lawmen like Sheriff Pat Garrett and Town Marshal Dangerous Dan Tucker. It was the Wild, Wild West. In 1895, a horrendous rainstorm hit Silver City. The flood of water eroded Main Street down 55 feet to the bedrock. Main Street businesses converted their back doors on Bullard Street to front doors. Ever since then, Bullard Street has been Silver City's Main Street. To prevent flooding in business establishments, the town has created extra high curbs and sidewalks throughout most of the downtown. In more recent years, they have made the old Main Street into a city park. Silver City is still an active mining town. The Santa Rita copper mine is one of the oldest mines in the country. With a population of about 9,000, Silver City boasts a brewery, 2 museums, several restaurants and bakeries, trendy shops, and art galleries. Bullard Street is the place to go if you like to shop, eat out, and appreciate architecture. Murals and other public art are a real attraction. Silver City has some nicely renovated hotels. We stayed at the Murray Hotel, built in 1938. It reflects the Art Deco style. 6 miles east of Silver City is Fort Bayard, which was built in 1866. At first, this U.S. Army installation provided security against Native American attacks. This line of defense was provided mainly by the Buffalo Soldiers. Later, it became the Army's first tuberculosis sanitarium, and after that, it was a VA hospital. Some of the vacant homes of enlisted men and officers' quarters still remain. A national cemetery was also established at Fort Bayard. All of the 6,000 graves were decorated for Christmas at the time of our visit. A friend recommended the prime rib at the Buckhorn Saloon in Pinos Altos, 8 miles north of Silver City. At 7,000 feet elevation, this 1860s mining town straddles the Continental Divide. Our dinners did not disappoint. One last stop before going home was City of Rock State Park, 30 miles south of Silver City, about 5 miles off of Route 180. At the Visitor Center, a 10-minute video explains how these rock pillars were sculpted over time by wind and water. The park offers camping, hiking, birding, mountain biking, picnicking, and a botanical garden. We'll always have good memories of our New Mexico weekend.
Thank you, Sarah. Great. It makes me want to go visit Silver City.
No, it's not that far away.
Right. Yeah. How far is it?
About 3.5 hours.
Okay. Well, you gave us a beautiful view of it. Is it really that good in real life?
Yeah, even better.
Okay. Does anyone have questions or comments for Sarah?
You need to stop the sharing.
Oh, whoa. Thank you. Anyone have questions or comments for Sarah?
Very good job, Sarah from Bob Potter. Very good, very good.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Thank you.
Okay, we do have one more show today. Bob George, the Detroit Street Art. Bob, are you with us? No. Well, I'm going to play this anyway because Paul McCrary gave it to me to show, and so I think Bob's expecting it. Maybe he just couldn't be with us.
I think, yeah, I'm here.
Oh, you are? Great. Bob, do you have anything to say before the show?
No, it's a pretty modest thing. I ride a trike, and a group of us got a guided tour to see some murals around the city. So it's only about 6 minutes long.
Okay, well, it sounds like fun. And I will try to do better on the screen sharing this time, but please speak up if I.
No video.
Audio, but no video.
The audio sounds great.
For sure.
Still no video.
We do have audio though.
Strange.
You're muted, Holly.
Am I still muted?
No,
No, okay. And it says my video is going, but for some reason, it's not. I'm gonna have to stop share and start it again. Huh, very weird. Okay, so we've got, this is all going. I'm going to open this again.
I don't think it's anything you're doing, Holly. It's just the system.
Really? Okay, well, maybe so, but I'm gonna try to fix it anyway. So that's that part. We've got to get to share the screen. Here we go. Share screen. Optimize for video clip. Share sound. We'll try it again. You seeing it?
no.
No.
I don't think you're sharing it yet, Holly.
Huh. I don't understand. Play,
You're not sharing.
I pushed all the same buttons. Am I sharing now?
No.
No, it doesn't show any sharing going on at the moment.
Really? Well, I'm clicking sharing on my computer. Let me try.
Did you stop the previous share, Holly?
Yes.
Yes, she did.
Yes. Let
Did
me
you start?
try this. Yes?
Okay.
Yay.
Yay.
Okay. All right. Off we go.
Start from the beginning. Turn on the audio.
Was on. Okay. Well, thank you, Bob. That was cool. Lots of interesting artwork there. I hope Sue Rock was watching. She loves murals.
She was watching.
Oh, good. Great. So when did you do this trip?
We did it this past summer. It was about a 30-mile bike ride, and most of the pictures were taken on the fly.
Oh, yeah. Okay. And did you have a recumbent trike? Is that what I saw?
Yes, that's what you saw. Yeah, we have a little trike group, and one of the guys knew the fellow that led us, and he pretty much on a weekly or semi-weekly basis does rides through the city and documents some of the art, familiar with the artist, and he stops. While we were there, he stopped and talked about them. And one of the places was the Heidelberg Project, and you could look it up on the internet. This fellow used to live in that polka dot house and try to make art out of his old neighborhood.
Was the guy that lived there the artist too?
Pardon?
Was the fellow that lived in the house the one who painted it?
Yes, I had a picture of him in there, and
Yeah.
that's his project. And the city tried to close him out about 3 times and keeps the project going. But
Well, Detroit, they should know Detroit never looked so good. Other comments or questions for Bob? Okay, before you go, I got to go to Camera Club today and actually see some folks in person. And I just want to encourage all of you who are healthy enough and have no immune problems, you might want to stop down at the club some morning and see your friends. It was really nice to be able to see folks in person. And those of you who are with us right now might want to unmute yourself and start your video, and maybe even go down across the bottom of your screen to your reaction icons and let those presenters know how you like the show with a thumbs up or a heart or however you're feeling.
I thought it was a very interesting evening, a nice variety.
Thank you, Jean.
Very nice. And I really appreciate the Zoom.
Oh, good. Yeah, I'm sorry I kind of wasn't able to quite do everything as quickly as I'd like to have, but not bad.
Not to worry. Does good presentation.
Yeah, it was great shows today. Thanks everybody for participating, and please send Paul McCreary any shows you have ready for him for the next couple months. I'm sure he's looking for them.
Holly?
Yeah.
Is the person still here that wanted to know the significance of marigolds during the Day of the Dead celebrations?
Yes, I'm here.
If you Google that, do you have a smartphone or a good phone that you can Google with on the internet?
Yes.
Just ask the question, what is the significance of the marigolds in Day of the Dead celebrations? And it's quite extensive.
Okay, I'll look it up. Thank
Very
you.
good.
Always enjoy your travels, Larry.
Yeah, that was quite the insert on that show. A lot of fun.
Thank
right,
you so
good.
much.
See you next time.
Thanks for hosting, Holly.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
For sure.